Everybody quiet down, thank you. This is our second session. Our first presentation up is Karson from St. Columba, and he'll be talking about magnets maximizing plant growth. Welcome into the stage.
Hi, my name is Karson Harbison, and my presentation is on magnets maximize plant growth. I was testing whether different treatments of magnets would help plants grow faster, stronger, and just better. I had three different treatments that I was testing. North pole exposed, where I had the magnets of the north pole of the magnets facing towards the plants. South pole exposed, where I had the south poles of the magnets facing the plants, and North Pole water exposed, where I magnetized water and I gave it to the plants. I figured out that the North Pole water exposed had a much higher growth. It helped the plants grow a lot better than all the other treatments. The other treatments did better than the controls. The North Pole and South Pole exposed helped the plant more than the control, but it didn't help as much as the North Pole water exposed, which especially gave it a faster germination rate, which made it grow faster, and then it just had a lot more time to grow. This type of research could be used in many different ways. Like you could use it for household growing, like you could just put some magnets on your water hose or in your plants, and it could just help them grow faster. It could also be used in crop growth to increase the crops to make them grow faster and have more crops, which can help fix the problem of hunger across the United States. And it could also be used in different stuff like hydroponics and just other testing. So how the magnets actually affect the plant is the magnet projects the magnetic field across the plant, and it affects the ions of the plant, and the ions get messed with, and it increases the protein production of the plant, and it helps it to have a faster growth. And in the North Pole water exposed, the water that's run through the magnets gets magnetized, and the ions are actually increased, and makes for a cleaner water, and it eliminates a lot of the problems that the water has, like minerals and other things that can be in water, and it helps the plant absorb it easy, and it can also affect the ions of the plants once it gets inside of the plant. Any questions?
How did you magnetize the water?
In this picture, you probably can't see it, but I took a graduated cylinder and I attached two magnets to the sides of it, and I ran the water through the magnets, which it effectively magnetized the water inside. Yeah, like I said, the North Pole water exposed had a better growth. And I thought this was also good because it is a little bit easier to do than to have the magnets actually in the plant. It's a little bit easier to have on a big scale, like you said, you could attach it to a giant pipe, or even to your water hose at home to give to your plants, and it could just have a lot more, and you could use that to have a little bit better plant growth.
Are they specific kinds of magnets or regular?
I didn't have a specific type of magnet that I used. I just found strong magnets that I thought would just work a little bit better because they were stronger.
And does it matter? Positive, negative?
Yeah, North Pole and South Pole. For the water, I did North Pole exposed because in my research, I found out that the North Pole is supposed to give the plants a faster and just quicker at first, and the South Pole is supposed to have a longer lasting effect, but it doesn't help us first. And I thought the North Pole would, and it's just a little bit quicker, so it gives a little bit more strength at the beginning of the plants. I used two different types of plants. I grew radishes and pea plants, in my radish plants, 2 of the treatments had no growth at all. So I decided to do a second set of plants, pea plants, and those worked a lot better and gave me more results.
You know if even magnets help plants grow actually being used in technology?
I found some studies on the project that I was looking at, but there wasn't much, and I haven't heard of any big like things happening that have magnets in water and magnets in plants in the world today. So I don't think so, but it could be used.
So what was your inspiration for this? Like, how did you come up with this?
So in 6th grade, I did science fair because we were doing it at school, and I did a kind of similar. I tested like hydrotropism and plants growing towards water, and that got me interested in the growth of plants and stuff. And then I thought, like, what other factors affect plant growth? And I thought magnets, that might be interesting. So I tested. Any more questions?
How long does the water stay magnetized?
I didn't get any research on that, so I really don't know. I'm guessing it like just cleans it and it kind of like affects the ions. So I'm not sure like if it's like magnetized, but I'm guessing it stays for like at least quite a while, at least till the plant absorbs it.
I was curious if the soil demagnetized it while it was waiting for uptake.
Yeah, that might have happened, but I didn't have any research or studies on that, so I couldn't tell you. Any more questions? Well, thank you for listening to my presentation.
Thank you so much. The next presentation we have up is Hayden Edmondson from Silverton High School. He will be talking about how can proteins be more sustainable.
Let me get your presentation off since it's already.
Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is Peyton Edwards. I'm in 11th grade and I go to Silverton High School. So my project is about sustainable fish farming in a rural, small area. So obviously you guys know I live in Silverton, Colorado, which is a very small rural town. Silverton is what we call a food desert. There's only one grocery store and it has very minimal produce in it, not a lot of options. And so what a lot of people have to do is drive an hour to an hour and a half to grocery stores to buy their produce, which can be hard sometimes too, because the roads out of Silverton are also closed a lot due to construction and avalanche danger. So I kind of was more curious about how we can bring produce into Silverton, especially like protein sources. So yeah, there was a crisis of finding sustainable protein. And so I didn't want to do cattle because the cattle industry is really, really bad for the environment, as well as poultry and pork. So I looked at fish farming. And so I looked at a fish farm in Sanford, Colorado, which is about 8,000 feet above sea level, which Silverton's about 9,000. And so that worked really well. And so I talked to the owner of the fish farm, and they use geothermal water to heat their tanks and keep their fish alive, which was not only environmentally friendly because they didn't have to heat the tanks using other energy. It was also very efficient, like with costs and stuff. It was very profitable for them. And so they had about 10 to 12 tanks year round running that would have fish in them that they were able to grow yearly and harvest, and they would wholesale them to either businesses or grocery stores that would eventually go to the consumer. And so I thought, well, how great would that be if we could bring that to Silverton? And so I looked at areas that might have geothermal areas around Silverton, and I found Chattanooga, which is about 15 minutes outside of Silverton. And this area is full of geothermal hot springs. And so if we did want to implement something like this into Silverton, this would be the area to do so. And again, it would be environmentally friendly, and also it would be very profitable for the owner. This area is also a mining, an old mining tailings pond, so the ecosystem would not be harmed by building infrastructure there. So that is my presentation. Thank you. Questions?
What did you, I'm wondering, did you talk to any owners or anyone about building or?
I did not, this area is actually privately owned, but I was not able to find like the owner's information, but if that was something that I really wanted to take on, I could definitely figure that out. Any other questions? They were a hybrid bass that was able to withstand colder temperatures. And so what the owner did is he would take once a year he drives to Arkansas and he gets the fingerlings, the baby bass, and then he breeds them with another type of fish that is able to withhold colder temperatures, not super cold obviously, but colder temperatures. And then those were bred eventually. And so now they have a fish that can withstand colder temperatures, which is also important for especially a place like Silverton. It's really cold. You and
Yeah, it's like more for them, what we like.
how to bring something like this to Silverton. I know it's like the idea is there, but just like actually putting the infrastructure in, I think that's like the next step for me. Yeah. Do you have one back there? Probably not for a while. I think it would take a lot of work for me to find the owner and stuff. This is just kind of like figuring out how to implement something like this in the Silverton, like I said. So I mean, definitely in the future, probably, I don't know, 5-10 years if I were to take this on further.
What kind of fish?
I would definitely use the hybrid bass because that's, I mean, that they're only 1,000 feet below us, and Sanford's a pretty cold place like Silverton, so it would probably be an indoor facility. They had both at Sanford, the Sanford fish farm, and so I would probably, yeah, just use the same fish. In the back. And
That's the fish farm.
so I actually looked at that, and so fish farming can be very, very bad for the environment and also bad for the fish because of disease and stuff. But so their practices were actually really good, I thought. So they clean their tanks daily. They have a well, so the water's constantly getting flushed through there, and they recycle their water. They clean it, and then it goes back into the tanks. And after the second time they recycle it, it actually goes to their agricultural area where they grow lettuce and carrots and stuff, and that actually fertilizes the soil naturally. So I thought that was also super, super good. Or you and then.
So.
I mean, there is definitely flat land, but there's no other geothermal like hot springs in the area. And so that was kind of my biggest thing too, was like keeping it so that the owner was also profitable, because there has to be something in it for the owner. And so that was kind of the way of winning the win-win situation. So yeah,
Sorry for another question, but
it's okay.
do you know, like, did they have a special place for, if the fish did somehow get infected or did get a virus?
I didn't ask that, but that is a good question. I think that he just said that didn't really happen because they clean the tank so often that, like feces and other, bacteria doesn't really build up in the tanks. So I don't think they really deal with that problem, but that is a good point.
What's the temperature of the water?
I don't know. I'm sure it was 90s. I think it was what they used to heat the tank. And then they also just use like fresh water from the well. So I'm not 100% sure what the like year round.
Solar heated water instead of geothermal?
I talked to him about that, and he said that it's just like takes a lot of energy to heat water like that. And so having a geothermal hot springs is just like super helpful, and it's not really profitable for the owner to, you would have to use both. You'd have to use solar and then some other sort of energy to heat the water. That's a good question. I don't know yet. That's probably in the future. Maybe if somebody wants to implement this. This was just kind of like an idea that I had. And I don't know, we'll see where the future takes us.
So is the geothermal heating the fresh water, or are you like tapping into like a hot spring to get the water also, or is it just heat?
It's yeah, so it's circulated through the fresh water, heating the tanks.
Do you use a similar, like, procedure to clean the tanks?
Yeah, I think that would be the plan. I don't necessarily know if the farm would be in that area just because of like, it's just surrounded by mountains and it's not really flat. There's a small flat land, but yeah, I mean, we could haul the water off or whatever we decided to do with that recycling process, and then taking that water and using it as fertilizer, I think is something super important. Perfect. Thank you, guys.